buddies, welcome back. Sandamtod here. I noticed that Sastastic did a response video to JodeciMudvayne's question about what his favorite genre and least favorite genre was, and I think that's a really good question because it got me to thinking about what my favorites were and what my least favorites were. And I wasn't really sure at first what my favorite was, but I know what my least favorite is, and I'll show you that right now. That would be the sports game genre. I mean, I have some. I picked them up mainly because they were cheap and they look nice, and it's good to play two-player with somebody sometime. But sports games to me are about as dull as it gets. I hope I'm not insulting anybody, or if you like them, more power to you. I cannot get into it. And part of that's because I'm not really a sports fan. But I do have one exception to this rule. That would be a good golf game, like a Tiger Woods or something. Or it's got to have some kind of difference to it. Like, I don't know, like Outlaw Golf or something, where you can do crazy courses and different stuff like that, and you can beat up your caddy, shit like that. That's fun. But sports games, and probably, I hate to say it, but racing games or driving games. I'm really not a big fan of driving games. I didn't realize how picky I was about the type of stuff that I like until I really started thinking about this question. Driving games to me are pretty boring. I mean, I feel like if I want to drive, I'd rather get in my car and drive, you know. Another one that I know people might not believe and might poo-poo me for is I'm not a huge fan of the FPS. I played Doom and Wolfenstein back in the day, but something about the 4x3 screen and the way you felt boxed in, and it felt like you had blinders on and you had to swivel to turn. It took me a long time to pick up anything that was first person and really give it a good try. And the only game recently, and it's not even necessarily a true FPS that really turned me around to this, was the game Fallout 3. Fallout 3 has a third-person mode, but it also has a first-person mode. And something about the two analogs and the way he turns, and also it being widescreen, and you can see more of a true vision of what a first-person view would be. That really kind of turned me around. I'm really thinking about giving the FPS a good shot in the near future, and I'll be happy to eat my words if it works out that I really dig it. So my likes kind of run in the more of an action game type of guy. I would consider this an action game, a game like Force Unleashed. It's basically level after level. You're just kind of running levels, but you're kicking guys' asses and having fun. You got some different powers and some different power-ups along the way, and there's boss fights, and then when you get to the end, there's, you know, a big boss fight and satisfaction to be had. I love games like this. Also, another sample of that would be God of War 2. I love this game as well. I do not own a PS3, and I'm not real sure I want one, but God of War was definitely a Sony exclusive that I am sad to not be able to continue playing if I don't have one. So that's a straight action. I actually prefer a game that's got a little adventure in it too. I would consider Zelda an action-adventure. The last Zelda game I've beaten was Ocarina of Time back on the 64. It's been a long time. I do have Wind Waker, and I did pick up Twilight Princess for the GameCube, but I just haven't been able to forge through them. And but I did love Ocarina of Time, and it made me want to rush home every day to play it from work or wherever I was. Be like, damn, I could be playing that game. But these are a couple that I also think fall into the action-adventure genre. It's just a couple that I grabbed off the shelf here. Something like a Prince of Persia, maybe, where there are certain kind of trapdoors and puzzles and rooms you're trying to navigate and figure out how to get through. The first Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, was probably my favorite And to be honest, I haven't beaten any of them. I probably played about 80% through the first one, and it's an awesome game. One of these days I'll finish it. Another sample of that would be a game like Soul Reaver or Soul Reaver 2. I love this, you know, the soul-sucking ability, the ability to take, the first Soul Reaver especially, the ability to take your brother's powers once you beat him, boss fights, power-ups, but no real leveling up system, just solving puzzles and playing the game. Those are games that I really love. This is also a kind of a subgenre of that. I would say it was the horror action adventure, maybe like a Resident Evil, like Resident Evil 4. I haven't beat this either, folks. I'm sorry. I had to do a pile of shame. But like a Resident Evil 4, or even maybe a game like Fatal Frame. And if you guys haven't played any of the Fatal Frames, you got to check these out. They're really creepy, really moody. They're still kind of pricey, even on Amazon. Like the third one that came out about 4 or 5 years ago is still like 40 or 50 bucks used, and maybe even like 60 or 70 brand new. But just this game runs at a slower pace. It's more about ambiance and figuring out what you're doing, but it'll definitely give you a thrill. And I actually have beaten Fatal Frame 2. I have not beaten this one, and there's a story behind that, why I played the second one first, but I'll save it for another time. That was basically kind of my thoughts on it. I will play any game, don't get me wrong. I love games. I'll sit down and play a baseball game with you every day of the week. I'll play a driving game where you're co-op and you're racing against each other any day of the week. You know, FPS, like I said, you know, some of the older ones I think turned me off to it back in the day, and I just never gave it a fair shot. So I'm kind of coming back around, and Fallout was definitely, it's more of a kind of a level upper, you know, so I don't know what you would classify this. It definitely has the FPS aspect, but it's got your levels and experience and stuff. I did beat this as well. I'm glad to say, because a lot of times I buy stuff and I never finish it. So my pile of shame is more like a mountain of shame. So anyway, I'm gonna get out of here, folks. This video's probably about as long as it's gonna get. So until next time, see you later. Bye.